Hello everyone, this is CJNovo992 and today we're back for another brand new video and we've went ahead and reached the first official preview of the season, meaning me and the go through another summer of football football where we went ahead and de-stressed and hopefully, ladies and gentlemen, went ahead and recharged because it's time to undo all of that, rip all that up and go through it together, me and thee once again. But we're not here for Scottish football and the dreaded low block. Nah, the lights are a little bit brighter today as we're here to talk about a massive game of football already, despite it being match day one, as this could be vital for our entire campaign. But before we do get to the old Rangers side and talk about some really painful, heartbreaking injury updates slash fitness updates, trust me, remember how we talked about recharging and distressing? It's all going to be completely flipped in the next 10 to 12 minutes. Before we get there, however, it is time to have a wee look at tomorrow's dance partner. And I think as a collective, when we saw the draw, we all initially went, well, that's the hardest draw that we could have got. That's the toughest draw that we could have got. And that's with foot looking into it. Well, now, ladies and gentlemen, now that I've actually dived into it and looked at it, spoiler alert for the next 6 to 8 minutes, probably is. So let's go tell the story of Panathinaikos then, shall we, and how they got to this stage versus Rangers. Well, last season they finished third before moving into the championship round, which is basically the equivalent of the split up here in Scotland. So they were sitting third, they were 10 points behind league leaders Olympiacos, and they were sitting 3 points behind Athens, who of course signed Cyril Dessers 47 times in the last 2 weeks. But after moving in to the championship round, they truly sat forward, especially in their grudge matches and big matches versus Athens, as they went ahead and played them twice, beat them twice, and that helped them move from third to second place, where they actually finished overall in the season, which again has led them to where they are right now in terms of the old qualifiers. Now, it is worth noting the 9 points that they picked up during the championship round was obviously enough to take them and solidify second place, but it was nowhere near enough to challenge for Olympiacos. They never went on a big run and push for the title. Now, let's just put it bluntly, Olympiacos deserved to win the league. Did Panathinaikos deserve to come second? It depends who you ask. And I think that's where we're going to go ahead and dive into now, because you're going to go ahead and look at their stats. You look at how they went ahead and performed, right? Because if you look at it, they finished second in Greek football despite only having a goal difference of just 10 troops. 10. That's all that they had, right? And you might be thinking, well, they might be a side that scores a lot of goals, but they're absolute garbage at the back. We've been there. We have went ahead and seen it, but that's not really what it is either, if you know what I mean. They are a team that drags games and make things ugly. They are a team that makes every single game difficult to break down, as they're almost the one goal specialists in a way. I'm not saying they only score one goal, but nearly every single game that they play is decided by one goal or less. In fact, if you look at last season in the entirety, during the league football, the cup, and obviously European football, they were involved in 37 games that was separated by one goal or less. That's the perfect description of what this team actually is, because they'll not blow you away with the goals scored. Again, Athens had scored more than them. POAK had 60 more goals than them. Olympiacos had 26 more goals than them. Even the goals conceded isn't that fantastic either. You know what I mean? You're not really going to see watering stats, but they just prod along. They make it difficult, make you earn it, make it difficult, make you earn it. And that's why they did fight tooth and nail all the way to second place, despite not being the biggest goal scorers or the greatest defensively or anything like that. They're just a hard working sticky side that makes it very, very difficult. And for me, that's not what I want to hear. Because again, to me, that's the worst type of system, the worst type of mentality you could be going ahead and playing. Because let's say they were a really good attacking side, right? We could maybe play a couple of more defenders, try and hit them on the counter-attack if they were weaker, if they were lopsided that way. But they're not, and even defensively, where again, they are pretty damn solid. I mean, they only conceded 32 goals in the league. Last season, they did drag games down to that, as we have talked about, but it's more of a hard working motif than anything else in terms of a brick wall at the back, because the midfield works hard, the attackers come back, everyone really makes it difficult, and that's the type of mentality that they've got, just to drag and slow games down. I mean, the likes of Ajax went ahead and played them last season, right? And Panathinaikos beat Ajax on penalty kicks. They can make games very, very frustrating and really suck the life out of games, whether it's slowing it down, whether it's maybe doing a wee bit of the shithousery, a wee bit of the dark arts, winning free kicks here, frustrating here, slowing the game down here when they need to go. And then again, they have got this sprinkling of talented players that can turn it on occasion, and we will speak about them a wee bit later on. So when they need a goal, they can pop up with one. But again, they're no real side with glaring weaknesses, in my personal opinion. They're just a side that goes about their business, knows exactly who they are, didn't change too much no matter what season it actually is. And they just make you earn it. The biggest loss that they had last season, if you want to go ahead and look at it, is maybe one that you've possibly seen in terms of Chelsea, where Chelsea beat them 4-1, which again is their worst loss of the season. If you just put that on, you stick it in the highlights, be like, oh my god, that looks alright. The only thing I would say, and I'm not even talking about the entire Chelsea team, if you just look at the goal scorers only on that day that beat Panathinaikos 4-1, that's over 200 million worth of players and transfer fees paid on just the goal scorer. So it's slightly different if you look at ours. But again, it wasn't all doom and gloom in terms of European football, because they also had some pretty damn good wins and a pretty tidy European run. They beat the likes of Lens 2-0 with one of their better performances overall in the campaign, and they also beat the likes of Fiorentina, who's probably the most high profile club that they beat last season, despite obviously knocking out Ajax. Now, I might have said it was 13-14 on penalties earlier on in the video, but it was actually 13-12, so I apologise if I've said that number. There's a lot of numbers in here, but they knocked out Ajax earlier on, as we've already mentioned, and they beat Fiorentina at home with a fantastic 3-2 win with a real chance to qualify even further into the competition. But Fiorentina flexed their muscles in the second leg over in Italy as they beat Panathinaikos to the scoreline of 3-1, in which Panathinaikos also picked up a red card. But again, there's no real shame in losing to the likes of Chelsea and Fiorentina, you know what I mean? They're not too shabby. Alonso, they've got a wee bit about them, so you can see why they are definitely a threat. And again, when things click and when things go right, they can really frustrate. And I think if you look at their overall fixtures, again, it's either that one goal as they were involved in 37 of them, or it's basically a tight game that they're in, or they lose. Guess which one I want to see the more. That's right, you went ahead and guessed it. But again, you might be sitting here reacting to today's video and thinking to yourself, CJ, this is all a lot of last season talk, you know what I mean? If you looked at Rangers, and if you were previewing Rangers breaking down last season's campaign, there's been a hell of a lot of changes, as there's a lot not the exact same, and maybe that is a very fair point to say, and is a fair counterpoint. However, the only thing I would say regarding all of that is there's been drastic changes on our end, but I'm not seeing the drastic changes in terms of Panathinaikos, especially after checking in on the friendlies. Again, I'm not going to talk about the results or anything like that, because it's friendlies, you know how I feel about it. There's a lot of rotations, but what you can take is the shape, the style, and who they're roughly playing in certain positions, and each and every single one of them is pretty much near identical. Again, they've added some interesting pieces like Big Pedro, again, the centre defensive mid. There is some additions in there that could go ahead and play. The big goalie that we're going to talk about later on in the video as well, Lafont, 6'4", absolute monster. He is a new addition, but in terms of the way they go about their business and the type of football they play, it looks like it's the exact freaking same, which is why I went ahead and spoke about how they overall played last year, because I think it helps paint the picture. But again, you might disagree, but that's just the way I seen it, and I thought it would be better for today's video. We've also got some attacking weapons that I think could cause a lot of issues and really fits the worry and the stress of us, especially Tite Air on the wing side. He's Brazilian, he gets out wide, you know what I mean? He's not a world beater, he's no Neymar or anything like that, you know what I mean? But in terms of where we are right now, the competition we're going to be playing in, who we're playing against, it's about as good as it gets. He's fast, he's direct, he wins a lot of fouls, a lot of stupid fouls, wins a lot of dangerous set pieces to chuck into the mixer. And him on the right hand side being such a focal threat for Panathinaikos, have been one of their main weapons to get out from the defence, hitting the wing position, does actually partner with and plays on my mind. I wonder if that's why we'll be doing that this pre-season, and that leads me to the left back side of Rangers, you know what I mean? Because right now we've got Jeff Day, and if Jeff Day has one of his days he's sleeping, this guy could absolutely have a game against us tomorrow night. But it could also be one of the main reasons why we've seen Max Aaron's training play a lot of these pre-season games, or behind the doors games, whatever people want to say, as a left back. Because are we going to go ahead and put Max Aarons on today to slow him down and really try and put the clamps on him, because he is one of their main weapons to get out. And if he has a good game, usually Panathinaikos does, but if he's off it, he gets frustrated and he gets shut down like a lot of games versus Olympiacos last season. It does result in bad results for Panathinaikos. So very interested to see how Russell Martin goes about it. Does he put Jeff Day on him right there, the two Brazilians against each other, or has this been why why we've been playing Max Aarons at the left back over the last couple of games, just to really narrow in and prepare him, because we've been preparing for what Panathinaikos' best weapon or most creative weapon actually is. But it's not just Max Aarons who could potentially be a new guy in the building having to deal with a dangerous weapon over from Greece. Nana, it could also be Big Nasser if he is picked and selected beside what I'm expecting to be John Souttar as their captain and maybe their talisman, if you want to say. You know what I mean? He can frustrate a lot of people, but he's got a good goal scoring record for Greece. You know what I mean? He's a young, up and coming-ish player. He's 25 years old, still got a hell of a lot of football ahead of him. Leonidas is one of these guys that has a fantastic name, absolutely. But again, he knows how to frustrate. He knows how to hold the ball. He knows again how to win free kicks. He knows how to drop. He knows how to get yellow cards to centre backs. He is going to be one wearing that armband that's going to be yapping a hell of a lot of it. But again, he's not just the off the field antics or off the ball antics. He can also put the ball into the back of the net. And he's not a prolific goal scorer in terms of Greek football. But if you look at his record in European football, internationally, he does pop up with big goals. And a team that doesn't score a lot of goals, a man that's usually on the end of the ones they do score, is the centre forward in number 7 with that armband. So going to be interesting with him as well. He's definitely one I'm going to be earmarking, and I think Big Nasser could be in for a tidy game right away. But if he uses his strength right, he should be able to swap him away. But Big him and Soapy, I imagine, will be in and amongst it with him. And then you've got the right winger as well, fleeing up and in the old wing. But that's really it in terms of Panathinaikos. The free centre mids do often get forward. They do all have shots. They all average a shot a game. They're not one of these ones where I sit deep, you run here, run there. Usually each one of them will take accountability, but again, they buy into the hard yards. They make it difficult. They really try to dig in. And I guess if you looked at it in terms of what we struggle with, teams maybe sitting a wee bit more defensively, it probably suits Panathinaikos in this game at Ibrox, with the first competitive game where we aren't up to speed, where there is that rush, just to sit in a wee bit, then spring the right wing, then spring in behind, then try to flip the park. So it definitely is setting up to be a very, very difficult day. But see, at the same time, right, and I always try approach these previewers, I always try and show respect, and I always try to be very, very fair, looking at the pros and looking at the cons. But can I say something, ladies and gentlemen, right? Because everyone's talking about like we're already beat with Panathinaikos, right? And yeah, we could get knocked out over the two legs. That's football, it can happen. But again, they're no world beaters. And again, we're not talking about a league champion here. We're not talking about this or a dominant this and domestically amazing. Right? This is a team that finished second by a bit of a distance. They got beat off the team that finished first nearly every single time that they played. If we kind of look at the likes of Panathinaikos in terms of a Champions League qualifier and say, we really fancy it, what the hell are we doing in this competition? Because you could really make an argument that Panathinaikos isn't a Champions League side. You could look at it that way and it's probably very, very fair. But if we want to go ahead and make the Champions League, if we kind of beat the likes of Panathinaikos, we didn't deserve to be there, in my personal opinion. So that's what I truly believe coming into this game of football. Yes, they are good at this, they are good at that, but at the same time, man, this is the Champions League qualifiers. It's no Barcelona we're playing. Turn up and play to their strengths and hopefully win the freaking game of football instead of all the pandemonium and be like, oh my god, it's over already. Nah, missed me with that one. But that's it, ladies and gentlemen. That is going to be the tricky test over from Greece. But hopefully Russell Martin has all the answers written down on the old paper. But it's time to move away from Greece and get to Rangers. And it does feel good to be back and speaking about Rangers with a smile on my face, right? Because again, a lot of season, I've told you already, I felt jaded. You know what I mean? Watching the robotic, dreadful standard of football that we eventually devolved into in terms of Phil Clement, and then continued to play despite the spark what I thought was going to be there on Barry Ferguson. It was depressing watching last season. I've seen horrific games, I've seen horrific results, I've seen horrific season, but the regression in just being able to play football last year was truly horrific. And I think that isn't me being over dramatic or anything like that, because if you look at who we brought in the building as our head coach or as a manager, we went ahead and picked the guy that's got a clear style, clear philosophy and plays good football. That was a key ingredient in bringing Russell Martin in there. That's what we went ahead and got, a manager that plays football, because what the hell we were doing last year was anything but. And obviously it's not going to be perfect tomorrow, it's not going to be flipped. We've had barely any time, we've had barely any opportunities to truly get up to speed and really grind that in, but he's coming into his first competitive fixture in here, and I can't help but hope the best for him, right? I really want, obviously I always want Rangers to win and all that, but there's this little part of my psyche that just wants to see a wee bit of Robbie the Green for Russell Martin, because some of this stuff that's getting said about this lad is absolutely crazy. There's people out there waiting for this laddie to fail, right? And I say this as a guy that wasn't exactly over the moon about Russell Martin potentially being the manager. Would he have been my pick? Nah, ladies and gentlemen, right? Because I was looking at this, you know what I mean? Seeing Russell Martin after seeing him obviously being the manager of Swansea for a lot of years, it did do the old eye raise. But again, at the same time, as if he fails, if you're waiting for Russell Martin to fail, that means Rangers has failed, and I will never, ever want that. So I really hope Russell Martin has a good game and starts with a good foot and just gets a good result with that. Hopefully hits the first domino and then other good results. Starts to get a bit of the feeling factor. Starts to grab the fans that's maybe just far away from him and doesn't want anything to do. Well, maybe if he can get us into the Champions League, maybe if he can get us in with previous favourites and heroes like Clement and all that was hero indeed coming in to this football. If he can do what they couldn't do, maybe that will just get everyone back on side, and maybe that will just translate to a successful season. That's what I hope. And again, to be fair, there's also the opportunity for several players who we thought wouldn't be anywhere near the squad right now, right? And again, I know there is lesser ones and more frustrating ones than this guy, and this guy, but there is players there that Russell Martin has been putting his faith into, and again, it is going to take more for certain individuals than others, but at the same time, as if they can also do what the previous managers and previous players couldn't do. If they could get us into the Champions League, if they could get us more money, if that then allows us to go ahead and sign more talented players that gives us a better opportunity to win more domestic trophies, that's how you truly begin a redemption era and start earning the trust back of the fans. It's no tricking another manager, it's no playing great behind the scenes, it's no being a really good trainer. If you want to win the fans and be remembered as a successful Rangers player, it's on the frickin' park. So the Dowells and everything like that clearly have the manager's eye right now. We'd certainly just have a lot of the fans. Can he go out there and perform tomorrow? Because he's probably going to have to play. Well, that's the type of game you start to show you can be a Rangers player and start to put things right. So for me, there should be a hell of a lot of motivation in that dressing room and in that dugout to make tomorrow the best that they could possibly give. And despite being rusty and despite being not fully fit, just finding that extra 5% to push yourself further line and just start this season off right. Because we know what's ahead of us now. We know the carrot that is dangled in front of us in terms of the next round, and by God it should be appealing. I mean, if it was the second round, everyone would be a hell of a lot calmer right now, because I'd argue the next round's easier than the one we currently face in terms of Panathinaikos, because if we beat the Greek side, we either play Victoria Pleasant or the likes of Servette, and that should get the old plums pumping, because then you're getting dangerously close to the Champions League, and if that's where players dream of playing, do your job the more. Again, you can't win the game, but you can certainly lose or play a big part in losing it. You start off by winning your home games, you go there and do the job in the next leg, and then you've got that carrot dangled in front of you, because do you know what's behind us? Ladies and gentlemen, see if at Disney, go right, if these players that are great at training and great at tricking managers, if they can't then go and put it in the pieces and throw another manager under the bus, do you know what's waiting behind us in terms of the Europa League qualifier? Besiktas and obviously Shakhtar Donetsk. That is absolutely brutal, and maybe highlights the difference in terms of the Europa League and the Champions League, because people say, oh, it's vastly different quality. It probably isn't, ladies and gentlemen, but the major difference between the Europa League and the Champions League is the ridiculous amount of money that's actually there. So if you look at what's better, do we want to go and play them, or do we want to go ahead and play that? In terms of European football, I think it's fit doing and going ahead and doing the job tomorrow and starting this off as best as humanly possible. But again, I'm not going to really dive into the depths of how important and vital this game is for our entire season. I already made a video on that. Was on Friday night. We had a wee discussion about that. I'm sure some of you where I went ahead and watched, which I greatly appreciate. So I'm not going to go down that route. But yeah, this is pretty damn important. So let's pull it back and get to the players then, shall we? Because unfortunately, despite it being so massive, it doesn't necessarily mean we have everyone fit and fully fit and available to go, as we found out today, and we saw today that Telo Asgard hasn't been a part of training, and we obviously got an update regarding Russell Martin, regarding him saying he was going to be touch and go for the game as he picked up a niggle last week, which is absolutely infuriating because this man's never been injured in his entire career, and he's been playing week in and week out since 18, and he comes up the road and within a few weeks he's injured. What on Pet Cemetery are we doing up there? Like, what are we doing? Are we cursed or what? Why does it continue to happen to us? But he's potentially a miss for the game. Now again, there is another future press conference to come which will actually be done by the time I've uploaded today's video, so if there is any update regarding him, I'll let you know down in the comment section below. But he's certainly still the way he is from the last Russell Martin, which was touch and go for this game, but he should be available for a second one. But that's probably our brightest star in terms of the attacking aspect of our summer signings, the summer rebuild, the summer that. There he's maybe no going to be involved, or at least be on the bench and not be 100%. And what's cruel, ladies and gentlemen, it's not just our brightest, it's arguably our second brightest attacking talent that we brought in terms of the summer signings, as Gasselman's also been a little bit behind in terms of his fitness level, again because the way the Sheffield Wednesday chairman dragged his feet and never was in the building long enough, you know what I mean. He was just back a wee bit late from his holiday as well because of the time off that he was given, so he's not exactly where Russell Martin wants him to be physically and fitness wise. It's the Champions League qualifiers, and arguably our two most creative players right now that were brought in this summer aren't fit for it. Oh, this football club. The only thing that is worth noting, by the way, is that Gazema's obviously in a slightly different position than Telo, as Telo's picked up a niggle and injury. Gazema's just not there physically in terms of his fitness, but it's probably going to be a bench option if he doesn't go ahead and pull the trigger. But again, as I say with all these press conferences, always take it always with a pinch of salt, because they know the opposition's always listening. They always know they're going ahead and doing that. So Gazema might start tomorrow, but aye, that's the two breaking updates regarding our two biggest summer signings in terms of the attacking aspect of the game. They're both in doubt for it to at least start. One's expected possibly to miss the game, where Gazema's probably going to be a bench option to run, which again I don't hate as long as he gets involved, because he's certainly got talent. John Suter was obviously clickbaited a few months ago to be potentially missing this game, but that's all hushed, done, dusted, you know what I mean. He will be fit and he will be ready to go, which leads me to the players and building up what I think the starting 11 is going to be. Now, it's not going to be what I would play. I might touch on that later on, but this is what I think it's going to be, and I'm not going to go with a 3/5 at the back right now, as I don't think he's going to pull the trigger. I'm just going to go with based on what he's been playing in every single behind the doors / pre-season game so far this season. So I think it's going to be Jackie B in the sticks. I know Kelly certainly makes a good case. He's better with the ball at his feet. It could be Kelly, absolutely. But I think it will be Jackie B. I think it will be Tav on the right. I think it's going to be Suter. I think it's going to be Nasser. And I think it's going to be Max Aarons at the left back spot, as he's been training a hell of a lot there. He's been playing a hell of a lot there. And again, with their strength, it could be the time for Max Aarons to start to announce himself as a player right now, which does make me a wee bit nervous. Again, this could be completely wrong, but it's certainly suggesting that. But if I see Jeffy up there, I just hope it's good Jeffy and not the... Let's leave it at that. The midfield is interesting because, again, I'm expecting Rothwell to be a really underrated player for Rangers this season. Everyone's forgotten about him already, but I like him a lot. So with a hope, and I'm hoping to see Rothwell, Raskin and Diomande. That's a strong midfield, and that's a midfield I can get behind. But if he doesn't want to chuck Joe in the deep end right away, you could potentially see Connor Barron, who's obviously wore the captain armbands and won the friendlies for that position. But for me, if I see Rothwell, if I see Raskin, if I see Diomande, that's going to get this grey man very excited in the old stands. Aye, Brox. But moving forward, I would love to be sitting in front of you saying I'm seeing Tello, I'm seeing Danilo, and I'm seeing Gazema, because that there looks fantastic, doesn't it? It looks great. But again, injuries might cost us that, and it could potentially be Oscar Cortez, it could be Danilo, and it could be Kieran freaking Dowell. But where the winging position's obviously up there, and it is a bit of a guess, you are looking at the striking position and you might be waiting, what's Danilo starting for? Dessers is back, Ickerman's back. Danilo's been absolutely sensational for the Rangers team during pre-season. He's one that we knew and we spoke about as being a Russell Martin style player, and you can see why that it is just gelling. Goals, assists. I think Danny will be starting, and hopefully it is the Danny redemption. He's one of the ends with the chance to redeem himself to the fans of that. He's one that could be banging in a goal or two. Again, if Dessers and Eggman had spent the entire pre-season and were fully fit, there probably would be a different conversation here. But again, with them just being back in the building, what, a week in total, where they are physically and everything like that, I don't think they're going to replace Danny anytime soon in terms of that starting 11 spot. But again, from the bench, if we need a goal, having Dessers and Eggman there, that's not too bad. I like it a lot. But that's what I think it could potentially be, ladies and gentlemen. Very, very interesting to see how it lines up. Again, it is Russell Martin. He is a man that's known to drastically change his style. Not his style, sorry, his formation, depending on the opposition. It could be something completely different, but that's what I'm thinking going in to the game of fit. But what about you? Let me know your opinions down there in the comments section below. I imagine a lot of people would have liked to see Aaron's at right back, maybe this year, maybe Dessers starting, maybe Eggman on the left. There could be a lot of different options. You could let me know down in the comment section below. Again, even the likes of Oscar Cortez and Gazaman Danny at least gets me really excited there. But again, we'll wait to see tomorrow night. That's it, ladies and gentlemen. The only thing left to do is try to predict the unpredictable, and that is Rangers, especially early season. Rangers, good luck down in the comment section below. I'm going to go ahead with a cheeky wee Rangers, you know what it is, 2, Panathinaikos 1. I think it will be a 1 goal. That's what it certainly suggests in terms of Panathinaikos. And I think it is a bit of a Danny redemption. I'm going to go with Danilo on the old goals, and I wouldn't be surprised if James Henry pops up with something, ladies and gentlemen. But that's it. That's me, done and dusty. That's the first preview officially done of the season. Sorry if I've rambled on too much, but I've tried to give you as much information as possible. Let me know if you like the longer videos or you would like them a wee bit more condensed. I'm happy to do whatever you want to see this season. Before we do wrap up, though, shout out to the channel legends that signed up to the channel legends membership, supporting the channel. I greatly appreciate it, as is the ones that signed up to the supporter range as well. It's never a thing that's forced on anyone or pushed on anyone. I'm not trying to ram it down everyone's throat, but I do like to say thank you at the end of these videos, because again, that is incredible. That is really kind to go ahead and do that. And again, as it is for each and every single person that actually just tunes in and watches and keeps the old lights on by sticking with me year upon year upon year. The end of the video is always just for me saying thank you, ladies and gentlemen. But until next time, till tomorrow after the game, probably a late one by the time I get home and everything like that, in terms of the distance to the new house. It's probably going to be a wee bit later. I'll try to be as quick as I possibly can, but hopefully you see a smile on the Nasher whenever the video is went ahead and posted. But until next time, I've been CJ992. Thank you so much for watching. All the best, and bye bye.